So, anabolics and hair loss. Some of the anabolics which will shred your hair. If you're unaware what anabolics they are, you might run into using them and then 8 weeks later wonder, oh, why is my hair thinning or why have I got hair loss? I'm Jace and I'm going to talk you through anabolics and hair loss and discuss a few things and break down why hair loss is formed when you use certain compounds of anabolics, and making sure you leave this video with a greater understanding of which anabolics are going to accelerate hair loss. Is it every single anabolic? Absolutely not. Is everyone prone to it, even if they use these anabolics? Absolutely not. Is it genetic? Potentially it plays a part. So a few things I want to talk about is the DHT hormone, which is actually a sex hormone, which when it's too high, it can promote hair loss. And that's what happens when we use DHT derivative drugs. And sometimes hair loss is genetic, sometimes it's naturally prone to happen, but sometimes using some of these anabolics can fast track that process. And, that's why typically, the old school world, the bodybuilders, they're big, they're huge, they're massive, and they're typically bald. And that's where the term skinhead and meathead typically comes from as well. So the DHT hormone can get heightened when using a set pathway of anabolics. So what I wanted to discuss today is the DHT family. And what compounds are DHT derivatives and what compounds come under the DHT family. So first of all, I'm going to hit you with the three main compounds that are known with a huge amount of popularity to the public, and then I'm going to dig into some more, because sometimes when I have these conversations, someone says, oh, I didn't know that would cause hair loss. So one of the biggest ones, and what everyone says, hey bro, I want to start a cycle, I want to use some Anavar. Anavar is actually a compound in the DHT derivative family, and that is actually going to make you prone to hair loss. So as much as it is one of the milder drugs on the spectrum, it does have one of the higher side effects, being acne being one of them, and hair loss being another popular one. So thank you for clicking to watch another video on the channel. You clearly follow myself or you follow the Team Jace page. So if you do follow us and you do watch our videos and you're interested in learning the principles which we use to get our clients in the best shape and some of the training principles which we use in this video, click the link in my bio on Jace_345, or click the link on the Team Jace page, Team Jace_ on Instagram, and we can get on a consult call and help you achieve your goals. And then we've got Masteron. Masteron, again, a compound heavily known for hair loss. And then we've got Primobolan as well. So we've got two injectable steroids, and then we've got an oral-based steroid as well. And then the least popular DHT-based supplements for the general public or someone with an entry level into anabolics, we then have to look at your Winstrol's. We then have to look at one of the most popular new drugs on the market, your DHBs. We then have to look at your Provirons. We then have to look at your Anadrols. We then have to look at your Superdrols. So again, there's 5 more compounds. And when you look at the Anadrol and Superdrols, those are used in the strongman mode. And when you think about it, some of these strongmen, they're absolutely jacked, and they're typically, a lot of them are bald. So that's pretty much the DHT family. And I think getting on this video and understanding what drugs may be prone to giving you hair loss is quite important, because one, you taking these anabolics for a cosmetic effect in how your physique looks, but with that cosmetic effect is also how we look facially, and how we present ourselves as human beings. So those are drugs that fall under the DHT family. We now have an understanding that the DHT is a sex hormone, and when it's heightened, it can lead to hair loss. So those are two things we understand. Firstly, the process. Do you take one pill of Anavar and you wake up and you've got no hair left on your head? Absolutely not. So it's a process. And where does the hair loss come from? What part of the head does it come from? Typically the crown, and typically the hairline. So take this advice, because I've got a great hairline, and when I was competing, I was using anabolics at a higher dose, and I've not used any cycles for 18 months now. So the process, the crown and the hairline, and is it a process where you take these drugs and all your hair falls out and it never goes back? Potentially if you take it too far, but if you do things in small phases, how the process happens is you start to thin slowly. You start to shred slowly. So when I was on these anabolic cycles, what I would see is my hairline would start to thin at the front, and it made me very self-conscious. And it's probably one of the reasons why I wouldn't use an advanced cycle of any DHT derivatives again, because image to me is quite important. Luckily, nothing on the crown, but what would I see? I'd be doing my work on the laptop, I'd rub my hair, and I'd see hair follicles in my hand, 5, 6 hair follicles, and I'd do that repetitively over the day, and I would see the hair loss starting to happen, and it would be slowly accumulating daily, thinning, shredding, thinning, shredding. However, when I did stop that course, luckily, I must be prone to accelerated hair growth because my hair started to regrow very quickly. So the process, it doesn't fall out overnight. It starts to thin and shred over time, and that's also if you are running extended long period cycles, longer than the normal duration, you're just facilitating that hair loss process more and more and more. So that's the process. Typically comes off the crown and typically comes off the hairline. I more so see it come off the crown. You know, a lot of young lads I train with, we're training, they're doing shoulder press, I'm looking over and I can see a very thinned crown. How do we stop it? How can we stop that hair loss? Are there inhibitors? Yes. Products such as finasteride. Do I advise these products? With any product, there is also, well, not products, if there's any medication, there's also going to be side effects, mood swings, depression. So this is something I don't recommend. What I do recommend on your physique journey is you can still build a great physique by not using DHT derivatives, but sometimes it's a risk and reward ratio if you are competing at that higher level and then rewards are quite greater. What are you willing to do to sort of reach your goals? The position I'm in now, would I use a DHT derivative now in where I am in my physique journey? Absolutely not. I've only used TRT for 18 months. So when we look at that as well is when using these anabolics, we know some lads that will use Primobolan. Let me actually list these down for you. We got some lads that will use Anavar. We're just going over what's in the family again. Masteron, Primo, Anadrol, Superdrol, DHB, Primobolan. I know some lads that will use Primobolan, that will use that stacked with Masteron, and they'll then use that stacked with Anavar, and then before bed, they'll use a bit of Primobolan. There are people that genetically are not prone to hair loss. And regardless of using DHT family-based drugs, they will not experience that rapid hair loss. But if you are prone to hair loss, if you look down your genetic line and hair loss is hereditary in your family, and you are using the DHT family-based drugs, potentially you might accelerate that hair loss there. So just wanted to cover that a bit more and just give you some advice so you know next time you have your stack design, next time you're picking out the ultimate stack for your physique, what to consider if you are someone like me who 1 wants to look good, 2 wants to keep a full head of hair. What I advise is personally TRT. The safest pathway, that's probably not going to accelerate hair loss as much as DHT derivatives. So just to cover that again, the DHT is a sex hormone, and DHT-based drugs in the DHT family are going to heighten and accelerate that rate of hair loss. The process, typically hair loss off the crown, that should say hairline, and off the hairline. And that will come in the form of shredding and thinning over duration. Over a shredding and thinning over a duration of time. That's going to equal hair loss. And then, like I said, there is inhibitors. More inhibitors that are over the counter, such as Madoxonil. Madoxonil is something that's come to light to help hair regrowth. And there's also the pharmaceutical pathway of finasteride, which is something, again, I don't highly recommend. Madoxonil and then finasteride. If this isn't enough, what evidence do we need to tell you that there are DHT family-based drugs that cause hair loss? You know, trips to Turkey, you know, we do laugh about it, but it's common. It's common in the bodybuilding industry. If you follow bodybuilding, Chris Bump said he went and got a hair transplant this year. Like I said, the process is thinning over years. The more he competed, he's then got more baldness on the crowd, so he's gone to Turkey to get a hair transplant. And that's why in the industry it's quite common now for lads to go away and get hair transplant, because their hair are naturally thinning due to DHT family-based drugs. So If you are struggling with hair loss and it is something you're willing to accept, again, you then have that option to go to Turkey and get a hair transplant. So I just wanted to cover anabolics and hair loss and how you can accelerate your hair loss or how you can prevent your hair loss as well.